In this video, I'm gonna talk about Core Keeper. Top-down Terraria. You want a punchline? You got one. The mechanics and the options are pretty much the same, with the one difference that no platforming is required. This alone makes this game 500% more attractive to retro island gaming. For those who don't know, Terraria has a progression system where you mine ores and minerals to make better picks and equipment. These are then used to mine the next tier of ore and minerals, from which you make the next tier of equipment, and so on. To pepper the experience, you got a bunch of enemies in the way, and most importantly, a handful of bosses that drop precious resources to allow you onwards to the next important bit of the story. Whatever kind of story there was in Terraria anyway. Oh, speaking of which, the story here is as follows. You were on an expedition in the uncharted territories of the globe when you happened upon a big old whatever sitting in a clearing. You touched it, and boom! You are now magically stranded underground next to an inert core that just begs to be reactivated, if only in the hope to get a better clue of why you're here and how you can get back home. Doing so will require you to clear the local area so you can get a home base together. Mining for ore to refine and then craft into usable equipment, go further out and find the next tier of ore to make the next tier of equipment, and you get the idea. That said, there are plenty of items that exist for the sake of decoration, organization, and just plain making the space your own. On top of that, there is a pretty large bunch of items that cannot be crafted, and you will bump into these as you explore the world. This will absolutely include weapons and armor. You might want a bit of help to get the job done, because the world is big. And I mean, huge as hell. Gigantic. Hyper-endowed. You best not be the kind of completionist who wants to explore the entire map, because you are going to be here up until Christmas of the next century. Fortunately, that's what multiplayer is for. It's the kind of game that can be played in single player without any problem, and in multiplayer to just enhance everything to the next level. It'll mean you'll have more dudes to fight the bosses with, and you'll be able to separate the duties and cater to the people who want to explore, the ones who want to manage the home base, the ones who want to go fishing, etc. Because, after all, exploration and combat might be the meat and potatoes, but there are other activities to keep you busy. You will have to do all of them just a little bit. But once you're past the initial requirement, you can leave the activity behind, or you can go for the full experience and prepare, optimize, make it all pretty, and then try and figure out what you're supposed to do with the end product of this. All this to say, I have a ton of wool and no idea what this was supposed to go into. Anyway, one of the upsides of the world being immense is that the set pieces are also quite monumental in their own right. Somewhere among the randomly generated tunnels and clearings, you'll come across stuff like homes, temples, puzzle rooms, things like that. A few of them are just cute little bits of fun to vary the experience, but then sometimes you run into a full-on dungeon with a capital D. The kind of thing where you have to back out halfway because your inventory's full and you didn't actually expect to spend a full hour exploring every room of the place. Some of these special bits actually do have a piece of good loot, or otherwise an item that doesn't look useful at first, but the game's telling you, hey, this thing is part of something bigger. Hang on to it. You're welcome. Now, here's another thing that's pretty neat. The mid-game introduces an upgrade bench, and it works on practically all the equipment. Let's go back in time a little. Have you ever played a game where you obtain a sword or a piece of armor or whatever it is? It has a special effect, and you use it for a while. Then you find something with better stats, and the old piece of equipment and its special effect are never heard from again. RPG's got this out the ass. Happens all the time. I wondered if it's considered normal. I had a thing that dealt fire damage. Why can I not keep it? I could, but eventually I find another sword that does, like, double the regular damage. I would be a dumbass not to use it. Or maybe I had something that gave a status effect. It doesn't matter. What matters is that the element and the status effect add-ons are afterthoughts. Hey, you found a club that's got a higher chance to stun. Great! It's viable for only 10% of the game. Not here, though. I found a set of armor that allows me to control more minions. Now that I have an upgrade bench, I can bring that set of equipment to standard, and it works pretty dang well. I'm using a summon build. It suits me. I can let my little dudes do all the dirty work, and I can focus on ranged attacks and dodging the enemy fire. 60% of the time, it works 100% of the time. Chiefly because I think it makes me a glass cannon. I'm pretty fragile and it takes 3 or 4 hits to take me down, which isn't a lot. And this game has no mercy invincibility. If 2 dozen projectiles are coming down on you, you best be dodging, boy. If you get comboed, you don't die. You fucking die. That can make the boss fights feel pretty unfair at first blush, but you just gotta remember, this is a sandbox game. You have everything to gain by modifying the playing field and putting the fight more on your own terms. It doesn't always work, but it's worked okay enough that it bears repeating. If you die to the boss, you have enough information to set up the environment so as to nullify a few of his attacks on the next go. Rinse and repeat, and as of the Void and Voltage update, released February 2026, getting all the way to the last boss can keep one busy for 75 hours. The number can go up and down a lot. I sure as hell took my sweet time. I organized my home base, I did renovations, I went off on an exploration run, and I tried to find some of the more esoteric bits to see what they were all about. You get a credit roll about halfway through, but that's just because you've beaten the day 1 release content. Since then, the developers have added more to go, bigger things to hunt and kill. There's more coming, because once you've beaten the last guy, the core literally tells you that the next one is coming in a future update. Speaking of the core, you are its keeper in theory, but in practice, you can just allow it to sit there. You don't need to feed it or otherwise maintain it. You don't need to defend it against anything. The core is just a signpost who tells you what you're supposed to do next. Apparently that wasn't always the case, and the latest update fixed that. Boggles my mind. Not sure I'd have been able to play without an FAQ before that, but that's only speculation on my part. Then again, I did use the official wiki to figure out where some specific items happen to be, and I guess that's the style of the time these days anyway. If I'm playing a crafting game, I always end up on the wiki sooner or later. Overall, I just appreciate that the game itself respects me as a player. I actually played a handful of games like this one not too long ago, and a bunch of them turned out to be hopelessly, millennially cynical. They would have an excuse plot and not even think of sugarcoating it. One of them actually opened up by laughing at me and asking me who the hell I was kidding by running off to the countryside to work a plot of land. I'm pretty sure I've said it before, but it bears repeating for the people in the back. I play video games to get away from the bullshit of daily life, not to add more on my plate. Here, I get exactly what I've been promised. I'm told the basics of what's up, and what I gotta do, I go do it, and I get the reward I've been promised. That's it. Played straight. The tongue barely pokes the cheek, if ever at all. I'm on an adventure in another world, and such is my beautiful journey until I defeat the last guy. There is virtue in keeping the premise simple and to not overthink it. Just like there is virtue in giving enough just detail to show that someone cared to give purpose. Oftentimes, the simplest explanation is the most satisfactory one. And it's a concept that always feels ever more like a lost art as one gets shorter in years and on patience. Every reminder of this concept is a reminder that it should be applied to more things in all of our crazy lives. Just like my build. Turns out crafting the meanest set of armor and shooting bosses with arrows is way better than using minions. Who would have thought? In short, this game is Occam's razor.